Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We're in part number 8, I believe, of our series on the playlist, and we're about to begin what I think is the second to last, the penultimate level here in Arise a Simple Story. I've had a great time so far. Go ahead and watch any of my other videos. You'll see me really expounding quite a bit on what I like about the game. So I won't spend too much time doing that again in this video. I feel like maybe it's been a little bit repetitive. Um, but we get a cinematic opening here, and unlike the last episode, there are quite a few cutscenes that break up the gameplay in this level. And the visual you see here of this kind of autumn, fall, seasonal look, as you can see as I mess around with the time lapse just to kind of test what happens. This doesn't stick around. In fact, the aesthetic changes quite drastically once you get out of this opening area. And you'll see what I mean by the cinematics. You start one here, and so we're sitting on a bench, what maybe outside of what is supposed to be our home with our wife. That might be us aging, right? Looks like she's got some white hair there. Both look a little bit different. Hair is a little bit grayer, and we're gonna make our way to the right here, and it looks like things are gonna get pretty cold, and it looks like there's gonna be a theme throughout this level. After we get out of this little opening area, the level aesthetic kind of looks about the way it's going to look for the remainder of this play session here, which is mostly snowy. And the added mechanic here is kind of a frostbite mechanic. And so you're going to see once I come out of this cutscene here that if we spend too much time in the kind of frigid, windswept, climb here, we're going to freeze to death. We're gonna succumb to the frostbite. You can see we're kind of indicating that visually by grasping our arms and trying to generate some warmth. And so as I cycle through here, you can see it get quite a bit colder, but it allows us to traverse the terrain a little bit easier, as the ice sheets get a little bit larger and get closer together, and then the snowbanks get a little bit taller. But we also at the expense of our movement speed, right? So we move a little bit slower, and so the yin and yang here is kind of cycling through the dangerous colder temperature, and that is going to allow us to kind of traverse some of the gaps in the level, and then receding the climate here back to a warmer climate so that we can move a little bit quicker. Else we'll succumb to the frostbite that you can see. The effect kind of surrounds the screen here, and it takes me a second to figure that out. I think I do die for the first time right up here. I think I fall down. Um, and so, you see a memory off to the left here. I kind of play around with the idea of grabbing it and cycle through and see if it's going to be easy. But I noticed that it might take up a little bit too much of my time. So here I go, using the handholds, a familiar mechanic by now. And I think I'm spending a little too much time in the cold. And what happens is I fall off the handhold because I get too cold. So let's see when that happens. I think it happens soon here. Yep, there we go. And I succumb. And so that's when I figure it out. And for the next chunk of gameplay here, it's pretty benign is a word I used before. It's not really that challenging. Um, the mechanic does ramp up quite a bit at the end of the level. I don't spend too much time navigating the obstacle, but it is a cool mechanic. The phantoms come back. You'll see later on the wraiths or the ghosts. Although they don't really pose a threat in this level, just kind of foreshadowing there. Um, you'll see I navigate most of this next area pretty easily. We're kind of raising the snowbank, going through a couple of cutscenes, which we're about to run up on one here. And so as we run up, you can see we're over here cooking dinner. Our wife is hanging the laundry, and so we're kind of just I guess enjoying the the benefit of old age, living into our routines, right? So traverse through beyond that cutscene, make our way to one of the first warmth markers, and so this is going to be important for checkpoints, and then it's going to kind of also be a visual marker for where we need to go. So it's kind of a visual navigator, but also these are the spots we kind of need to get to, else we'll succumb to the frostbite. So speed actually does come into play here. I think in the other levels you could kind of navigate it at your own pace, but because you have to get the snowbanks high enough to traverse some of these gaps, you do have to move fairly quickly. You can't dawdle or waste your time, and you'll see I succumb a couple of times because I'm just simply not moving fast enough with how we need to traverse particular gaps in the level. So here's the anchor mechanic again. Takes me a second to figure out what I need to do here, and I finally use the rewind mechanic. Turns out I need to kind of pull the snowbank back, and then we sling ourselves here, but I don't think I do it fast enough. I might succumb here, and I do. And so we redo and traverse the gap and get over to that next warmth marker you can kind of see along the edge of the wall there. So just kind of taking in the sights too. It's fairly cinematic still, just like the other levels have been. I don't particularly care for snowy climates in games. I mean, I think they can be beautiful, but and I actually like cold weather. However, the aesthetic gets kind of played out, I think. There's not very many ways I've seen it, you know, appeal to me with some sort of visual diversity. And I will say, I guess there are games like Guild Wars or New World does the snowy climates pretty cool, pretty well in terms of their graphical appeal. But I'm not too crazy about this one. This was a funny part here. Our character kind of fell, and then he got up, and you can actually hear his back kind of creak and crack as he pops his back to readjust himself here. So we are swinging across the gap, trying to make it over to. I almost covered myself in snow there. Make it over to the warmth marker, and then make it around this bend and up through the snowbanks. And so, kind of playing with the idea that I'm trying to stave off the frostbite, but yet still be able to traverse this slope. Pretty happy that I got that in one go there. I was afraid I was going to slip off the side of which I almost do here. See, right? I start to slip. And then I figure I can kind of save myself and give myself a little bit of wiggle room there. I would have liked to see this next mechanic more often. This icy bridge. There was only one of these in the level, and maybe if you go for the collections, there's more than one. But this was kind of cool, and I don't know why this wasn't used more. I mean, the slippery ice effect is used later on with ice sheets on a lake, but I kind of wanted to see more of that, and I thought that there could have been some interesting moments where you had to jump on across gaps using the icy effect, but and I thought that's a pretty cinematic jump too. But anyway, I wish that would have been used more. I thought it was underused. Really like how the camera rotates around you here, especially considering how many times you turn in this level. The camera does a really good job of swiveling around the character, I think. Here's another cutscene. So we're chopping wood, and our wife is kind of taking it back near the hearth and stacking it up so that we can stay warm. Help with our achy bones. So the snowbank is really high, but once we rewind it, we see that there's actually a forest below us, our dead forest, and we need to make it through that little cave entrance over there. So here we go, drop down, and then lower the snowbank, and make it through this cave. And so again, frostbite starts to set in. It slows you down, so again, it kind of you got to move quick here. We warm up a little bit and make it out of this gap. And frostbite sets in pretty quickly here. Make it over to this warmth marker. And I do slip here a couple of times. I don't necessarily make these jumps as fast as I would have liked to. Um, yeah, I thought I could have made that one. And the ice sheets move a lot like the pedals on the water in the previous levels. So they kind of rotate around and move a little bit. They get a little bit bigger. Missed that twice. I think I might miss this 3 times. Um, but we'll see. So I was afraid that I would obviously die here, trying to make the ice sheets so big, and I think I do. I think I do at least one time, succumb to the frostbite because I'm trying to navigate this too quickly. I wish I would have made this. I missed this. I think coming up, I missed this. No, I made it. I made it. I think I missed this next one. This next little gap, I missed one because I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm feeling myself right now, right? I'm getting all these jumps, and I eventually do miss one. I make it too small. Let's see if we can get across here. I do miss one and I have to go back. Yep, I missed that one. I had to go all the way. I was almost there too, right? But here we go. Back again. Pushing through. Trying not to freeze to death. You should know by now in the series I'm definitely not hitting all the jumps, right? We're not doing a speed run here. I said that a couple levels ago. We're definitely not setting a land speed record trying to navigate these ice sheets. But I think we obviously eventually make it. This might be the time. Nope. Yep. Failed that again. So here we go. I wish I would have done this. This wasn't too hard. And the thing that I hated about this the most was that the path was actually pretty clear. And I still failed. So there wasn't a lot of figuring out that had to be done. To navigate this part of the level, but we make it. I think, yeah, we do. We made it. Cool. So push through. We see the handholds again. Got to use the anchor mechanic. I like that this is another thing they did on this level was that they paired the handhold mechanic with throwing an anchor and then swinging yourself, right? So again, they do a great job of layering the complexity of the game mechanics, and doing it in a kind of an interesting way. Yeah, I think with the warmth mechanic coming up too, they do a pretty good job of forcing you to really take the most optimal route to, as you can see, I fall in the water again, to success. So we keep moving, and make our way to, I think this counts as a warmth point. Another cutscene, definitely. So we're trying to make our way back inside. It's getting a little colder outside. Going inside for some warmth. I don't think that's us. Oh yeah, we're kind of shielding ourselves from the snow. It's sad that maybe it'll come back up in the last episode, but the moment at which we experienced the birth of our child and then lost them was a really sad moment that I don't think the game dwelled on enough. I mean, obviously sadness has been a big component of the game. This is the part where the mechanic really defeats me. We get to this warmth point, and you can see on the taller tree over there, it looks like maybe that's our next warmth point. But I'm gonna find out quickly that two things. I spend a little bit too much time trying to navigate these two hurdles, and then that is actually not where I'm supposed to go. It was the devs were deceptive in this level, I think, making you think that's where you had to go because that's the path of least resistance, right? That's where I gotta go. And you can see I try to go right, I try to go left, and I succumb to frostbite each time. This time I couldn't even see myself die. but it takes me a second. I say a second. It takes me several minutes to figure out not how I get over this, because I'm this is where I'm supposed to go, but kind of what direction I'm supposed to take to get to the next part of the level. And I keep thinking I gotta climb over this part because I just climbed over the last one, right? But you don't, and you definitely don't go left. You can walk over it, and you can see I keep trying to make it over to this left one, but you can see off in the background too, right? There's another fire. So ultimately, that's where I have to go. Uh, and I again, forgive me, it takes me some time to figure that out. And so, we eventually push through with some more trial and error here. I think I finally figured out. I finally figure out I can walk under that, right? I think I realized it right here, but I decided to try to go left again, and I succumb. You can see me succumbing to the frostbite. The effect is pretty strong here, and I decided, what the hell? I'll just make it even colder, and then I die again, right? Um, and that is obviously not where I'm supposed to go. So, die again, and let's see if this is the time in which I figure it out. I think it is. I think I lower it once more, or try to go right again. Nope. You know, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I think this subsection of this level is emblematic of my desire to fulfill, um, that definition. Is I just keep trying. I'm throwing myself at this heat source, and not knowing, never knowing that I cannot get that high. Okay, so do I go around this way? No, I don't. This isn't the way to go. I'm wasting time. And so I mentioned earlier that speed becomes a necessity here, and the longer I spend away from the heat source, obviously, it is to my detriment. So I've really got to figure out what the most optimal route is. So I got to leap over this. I think I try to walk around it. I lied to you earlier, by the way. I told you I figured out what the most optimal route was, and here I am taking 2, 3, 4 tries to try to figure it out. Is this the time? Okay, I go under, and I can see off to the right, you can see there's an opening right there, right? But I try to go across here. I couldn't actually see if this was a river, but I see myself start to wade in the water, and obviously that's going to cause me to freeze to death. So, I want to be honest with you and say that I didn't try that again, but I'm pretty sure I tried that again just now. So I make it under the branch again, so I figured out the most optimal route here, and then we push through. I still don't realize that gap off to the right, or do I? I do, and yet waste too much time. I waste too much time, and I die again. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to, and obviously, boom, right into the tree, and then I die. So here we go. Even when I make it into that tree, I fail at least one more time to get where I need to go. So don't get excited just because I walk into this tree, which I think it happens now. I realize I've got to raise the embankment to push me up, but I've spent too much time in the cold. So I get up, and I think I fall right here. I get just close enough, and I die. Right, but I figured it out. I figured out where I need to go, and we're gonna make it this time. I'm confident. You hear the Chariots of Fire music in your head. I know. As we navigate through this part of the level, we've probably spent more time on this part of the level than the entire middle section with the ice sheets and the first part combined. So here we go. I think I make this. Tell me I make it. I do. And do I make it to... Wow, I failed twice, guys. I failed twice. I really thought I was going to make it that time. I promise you, third time's a charm. Third time's a charm. I'm going to make it to that. I'm going to make it to that heat source, okay? We are not failing this time. Okay, we're getting across. We're beelining. We're beelining for that tree trunk. We're a pro now. Okay, we raise the embankment up. It's flawless. You know, it's all happening as I expected it. We make it across. Frostbite hasn't set in yet. We finally make it to the heat source, and here we are. And so we spend a little bit of time here because I'm used to the phantoms kind of going away when you mess with the time lapse mechanic, but they stay this time. But you notice they're not moving, right? They don't move. They do turn their head, I think, and face me. However, they do not move towards me. So frostbite setting in, speeds the mechanic. You can't just stand here and explore and look around. But we have some embers on the ground that are gonna kind of provide a respite from the cold for a little bit. You can see kind of the frostbite go away, and then we push through to the last cutscene, which I think is very endearing in a way. And here we go. You can see off to the distance there's something bright ahead. I lied. It's not endearing. This is where our wife dies. I think we find our wife dead in the snow. And it's probably the second most tragic thing. There's a lot of tragedy in this game. But next time is the end. And we'll figure out what the end of the story looks like. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.